All right, 6 o'clock, can we call the meeting to order? And can I get a motion for the minutes of July 25th, 27th, and warrants 3 and 3P?
I'll move that we approve the minutes of July 25th, and I was particularly taken with the minutes of July 27th.
The person who did those did a great job.
I'll also move that we approve warrants 3 and 3P.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to skip over recognition of visitors, and I'm going to bring the Flints right up for the Wilder Cemetery. So if you'd like to come right up to the table, we appreciate it. Just go around. I'm Lewis White.
Tom Burnett.
Bill Holiday.
Zeke Van.
And Steve Playback.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Flint.
Bill Flint.
All right, and you guys are here because
We own the land around the Wilder Cemetery, and not that we're that old, but we're starting to think, well, we should at least get some plots for ourselves, and I guess the cemetery is pretty much full. There's a pile of dirt at one end which would be available, but we all would like to donate land to the town to expand the cemetery for future. And it's about a quarter acre. I got our little map, if you want to see it. And just extend it down into our land a little further so the town will have more land for cemetery.
So this is the existing?
Yes, the existing cemetery is the corner. And it's actually 2 phases. The original cemetery is about half the width on this side. Then it got doubled probably in the early 20th century. And I guess it built up pretty quick, or it has over time.
I think there's a couple of things to be considered. We did call in advance and have Lou, Shirley, and Terry come out and just sort of look to see what we were talking about, to see what was, within the realm of possibilities. And I think, at that time they determined that, in fact, there looks like there are more plots available in the Wilder Cemetery if it was cleared. In talking to our neighbors, Victor and Mary Berto, they want 2 plots and we want 4 plots, so there's 6 right there. But then I think the idea of, expanding it so that for future use as well. So it's sort of, just to see where all of you stand in terms of the town's interest in expanding that cemetery.
anybody have any thoughts on that?
No, it seems like a generous offer. I'd be interested to hear what the cemetery thinks.
Well, basically, I would like to say that we did forget one thing the other day when we were down there discussing it. We realized that there's no way of driving into it from either side. It would have to be completely walkable. The only thing I'm wondering is, would you give us permission to, so while lots are being developed, to drive around through part of your field to get into that area?
You could. The one problem is there's that little intermittent stream that runs down through. Comes down off the hill, goes under the culvert, goes down through the fields. There's no way to really get across that at the present time. So it's not a big dip, but it'll make it quite a clunk if you were to try to drive through there.
Well, basically, to the west of the cemetery, it's quite steep.
Right.
And if we could figure a way of going over that hump.
Oh, just sticking in the woodland.
Right.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant to go around in the field.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you have to come in before you got to the stream, and it does flatten out there, and you
Right.
could swing up and around. We'd have to take some trees out to do that. This is in current use, so we have to take out that quarter-acre lot in order to make this happen. And then I guess then we'd also have to have a survey.
So I know, when you take out a portion of a current use, I assume there's some penalty attached to that.
There's a tax you pay. And I've talked with them, and all I have to do is fill out a form and send 3 copies of the map in, and I'm not sure what the penalty will be, but we'll cover that.
Right, and I guess in that light, we were thinking that because of the expenses that we would incur in the land, if it would be possible to sort of barter 4 plots to help cover those expenses, that would be appreciated. It's not condition.
What
So-
the,
I'm sorry.
you go ahead. Steve.
If you're donating to the town, is there any way to get out of the penalty?
I don't know.
That's certainly the logical
I
question.
could ask the woman up there. I just said, here's what we're
Yeah.
taking some out. She just said,
Yeah.
it's,
Send them
fill it out and
Send them
three
up.
maps and, so, I
Yeah,
didn't
that might
pursue
be
it.
possible.
It
But it
might be a possibility where it's a
okay.
donation to the town, certainly.
I thought perhaps the penalty would be involved if it was a sale, but there's no sale involved, this is actually donation.
Yeah, we'd have to explore that
The
with,
penalty is to recoup the taxes and
Right.
the penalty.
Right.
Mhm.
and quarter acre isn't gonna be, you know,
Right, yeah.
There'll be some valuation of it you'd be able to take off of your federal and state income tax return at any rate, whatever the value of it was.
right.
And it would be considered a tax deductible donation, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Unless we get 4 plots out of it, then it isn't, because we're getting something for the quarter acre.
Sure enough.
Which is fine.
Yeah, well, it's a very generous
Yeah.
Yeah.
offer.
So-
Very nice offer.
It just seems like it's getting tight down there, and with our, the Berto's not sort of all of a sudden being short one lot. It's
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of discussion how we're running out of plots all over town.
Yeah.
So,
So-
this is
And
very
This
good
is
timing.
I do get a lot of calls for the Wilder Cemetery and have to tell them there's no availability.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually the ones I get the most calls on. Because all we have is Taft and everybody that's living on the other side, Wilder.
Right.
Right.
How many lots do you think we'd gain with this? Anybody have an idea?
We kind of figured out just that portion, remember we talked about that
Mhm.
wasn't cleared, all the dirt and the trees were growing up. We're kind of figuring maybe just 16 plots that we could just get out of that.
Of the existing.
Of the
Yeah.
existing cemetery there, once that's cleared. And then, I don't know, what are we talking, 80
I would
by
almost-
100?
I would
This
almost
is-
say that
this
you're
is-
running
yeah.
well over 100.
Yeah.
It would double the size of the current.
Yeah.
cemetery.
It would really expand it.
I mean, the land slopes off, there's a little stream that comes around by the Doubleday Cemetery, so it slopes off, so you have to, anytime you dig a cemetery grave, throw the dirt that way. So, I mean,
So what do you need from the town?
I guess to say that you are willing to accept it, and,
Well, Yeah, I think, I think there was also some issue about clearing that corner of the existing cemetery too, to make that available. Which I
That's,
think there was some,
that's something we'd have to go in and do anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to clear out,
yeah,
I mean, it's part of the cemetery and there's a few trees that would have to, but this is something that, I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna go in next week and clear this out and make it,
Right.
A cemetery, because it's gonna take a lot of work to get it into what you would consider, usable for a cemetery.
oh,
But by the additional land, it would make it easier to clear out what needs to be cleared out in the present
Exactly.
cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we could go that way with it to clear everything out.
I mean, it's the same thing as the Taft Cemetery. You're gonna have to clear it out. There's not a lot of big trees in there. There's that big pine tree where the corner is, but it's mostly small stuff. So the tree stumping versus Taft would probably be a little bit less. And you still got to remember you've got to get some sort of fencing on those sides. So I mean, that's the same as Taft, except probably a lot less stumping because they're not as big a trees.
Great opportunity for the Stone Trust workshops.
there you go.
Continue their stone wall work around there.
Yeah.
Would there be any costs incurred, legal costs in terms of preparing the deed of transfer or anything else, or surveying the property, if property is transferred to the town?
We'd have to have it surveyed,
Okay.
just because the town's gonna end up with it.
but we have to do that.
I mean, we-
Okay, but that would be another cost that you would
Yeah.
cover
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
hope to be compensated for.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Okay. And in preparing a deed of transfer or anything like that? I don't know, that's not my expertise, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I don't know either. We might be able to find a realtor who could donate some time to fill out
It'd be
those.
a lawyer.
Yeah, attorney, yeah.
We could ask Robin.
We've got some lawyers.
Good.
Might be something to put on
We
the
need a
checklist.
motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd move that we move forward on working out the details of the donation.
I'll second that.
More discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very
Well,
much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
You can have that. So who works now? Who works with cemetery committee?
Yeah, I work with, anyone of the cemetery. Terry, would you?
Sure.
We work with.
We'll work, yeah,
Okay.
and I'll work with Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be involved with
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're gonna have to be Louis.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to get out of that, but
Yeah, you
I
can.
saw that didn't work out too good.
No.
I should have pointed at somebody else here.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is that an extra map or do you? Or that's just a map of our property. That was pretty cool. That one there you can.
Oh, sure you got one.
No, you don't.
No.
We can make it work.
Yeah, cemetery.
Night, thank you.
Yes.
All right,
Have fun.
recognition of visitors. You got something for us there?
I don't have anything in particular, just your monthly meeting, the sheriff's asking one of us, I'm assigned to Dummerston as far as to come during your meetings monthly, and that's my first meeting since the beginning. So I wanted to come in and check in with the board, just ask if there's any concerns, any questions, any issues that need to come up. I know the captain became aware of the quarry road issues with just traffic, so that came up just recently. Also, there's been some changes, obviously the new fiscal year. The sheriff's put out some new policies for us to follow through the year. Probably the biggest thing is we're actually becoming more proactive in complaints. Because of the limited budgeting, we're not able to just blindly go out and do everything we used to do, as I remember. But we're trying to get back into that, and some of the stuff that may come in that's small enough that we can handle without using town's funds. Some of that may come towards me or to the captain or something like that. For instance, the other day there was a odor of gas at a house. We were actually in Dummerston, and we went to that just to help the fire department traffic on Quarry Road. So we want to make sure traffic was okay. I mean, those are the kind of things that we're trying to get the door back open to. Or if someone should call the dispatch and say, I've already made some calls to other agencies and I'm not getting either a response or I'm not getting the right response or something's not right about it. And it's something the sheriff says, yes, and we can get into that to help out. So for instance, it would be like a mailbox. Somebody gets a mailbox knocked off and maybe the neighbors got theirs as well, but when they call it and complain, all they get is maybe a phone call back. They not quite what they want. They might call us and say there's something we can do. That is something we can look into. At least go out, knock on doors, say hello. Have you seen anything recently? Press releases. Our website is very good for that. We're able to put those press releases out almost immediately. So that's some of the stuff that's coming in. But we didn't know, obviously being the new year, that you guys had any concerns you want us to look into or any questions of us that's coming up. I'm going to try to be here every month. I called this morning. I was on transport, so I want to always make sure my issues become I'm a transport officer. So I may end up in like Newport, Vermont, or St. Albans at noon. So I may or may not be able to get back in time, but I would generally call in. It's my plan every morning or afternoon. And that gives you guys a chance to sort of say maybe I got a question for him. But I am also available. If you call the office and you have a question, dispatch or someone's going to say to you that we'll get a message to Corporal Shepard. And we'll say, they have a question for you and I'll get back to you. It's fairly easy now to do that. Obviously with technology, we can cell phones all the time. We've got new computers mounted in some of the cars that are actually allowing us to come out beyond hours that dispatch is open. I know you've seen them in some of the state police vehicles, but the sheriff just purchased 4 of those same computers, which allows us to come out. Even if dispatch isn't necessarily open, someone like myself, I can come out a little bit early. And with that computer, I can do some work in the mornings early to help out. So those are things you guys can keep in mind. If we know something happening at say 5:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning, you can make a call to the office and get my attention, and you can bring it to me, and I can look into how to maybe deal with it a little bit. I know Quarry Road's a thing we're going to start doing probably early in the mornings. We happened to come out early last Friday to go to Newport, and we noticed a couple things driving through there.
There's another place it was an unexpected sort of result of the bridge being closed is our neighbors down on East-West Road here who always have trouble with the speeders coming down that hill out of the center say it's gotten much worse with the bridge closed. It's like people are making up time or something. They're feeling pressed and very impatient, and they actually asked if I was going to give you guys a call tomorrow.
Okay.
If you might take a look at that stretch.
That's definitely something we can look into. You know, like I said, we're trying to come out at different. Everyone seems to know when we come out normally. Everyone knows our hours, but now with this new setup, we're able to come out whenever I want, because this computer now allows other people to know I'm out, not just my own people. Other agencies can know. It's kind of nice technology to have. It's a little limited. It requires cell phones sometimes, but it allows us. I've used it a little bit, kind of dabbled in it, and it does have quite a bit of good range. We even have a booster that's installed in the car to allow that signal to become even better. So like something like that, I would say I would come out at 8 a.m. I'd come out at probably like 6 a.m. and maybe sit there for a little while, because you're going to catch people early in the mornings that just assume it's early, no one's out. And the other day we left the cruiser on Court Road at 5:30, and I understood it caught some people off guard. It was left there intentionally, but we were up north in Newport that day.
We just left the car.
We just left the car to see what would happen. And I've heard from people that they came around and were like, oh, and 5 o'clock in the morning, that's not normal, and they don't know. I mean, until you drive by it, you don't know. So it does do an effect of at least slowing them down. That next day or Monday, you might come by at 5 a.m. and it's not empty. So it just does keep people's minds there. We do that a lot. We've done it over the years. The captain and I, when we team up on transports, we'll leave one of our cars somewhere that we know where it is. We'll come back to it later in the day. And it does work, but you got to get in it eventually. You just can't keep leaving it empty. It's got to be occupied sometimes. So we will do that. We'll leave it a day, come back a couple days later, and we'll sit in it for a while, and we will. We'll find it very productive. And all we're trying to do is slow people down.
Yeah.
You know, we're not trying to make it a headache for people who are now late to work to be even later. It's just maybe get up 5 minutes early, and you don't have to go that quick through there.
Yeah. Well, anything we can do to make it a little easier on the neighbors who are
Sure.
kind
And I
of
just
shouldering
noticed
the inconvenience for us here.
But yeah, if there's any other concerns, you guys are always free to call the office. It's easier to call my office to reach me. Like I said, I don't always know where I'm at, and they know where I am. They can send a message or send you through to me on a phone. Because if I'm in a courtroom, I can't answer the phone. So they generally know if I'm in the courtroom or not. But like I came tonight just to check with you guys to see if anything came up that you need us to look into, and any information you guys might want from us.
One thing is if you could call on Tuesday
Okay.
before the one, just so it can be put on the agenda.
Sure, I can do that.
You know, and if you can't make it, you can't make it.
Right.
Take you off. But it's just nice to have things on the agenda
Sure.
so people know that you're going to be here, and then they can come. And
Yeah, today was mostly I knew the first time. I've come to the board meetings in the past sporadically at different times, but never consistently. The idea now is this: it has to be consistent. It's got to be every month. If I don't make it, the actual sheriff will come find me and find out why did I not go. So it's not an option really. It's you have to go to these. So I do make sure I'm going to attend them, or at least let you know if I can't make it why, and I'll follow up at some point to see what went on. I'll ask about the minutes or something like that, because I know you guys have got some major stuff coming up with obviously the bridge now. In the future, there may be other work going on with the 91, may come up in a year or two. That's going to probably end up coming down to the sheriffs. We're going to probably out there at some point. If they're using Route 30 and the 91 area, there's probably going to have to be blue lights there. So we're going to be obviously probably part of it in some form or fashion.
Be what?
Blue lights.
Oh.
Generally, those kind of jobs will require some kind of a blue light standing there helping. Because you may end up shutting one end of Route 30 down. You'll end up having to have coverage there. But I'm sure at some point, if it does come to that, we'd be involved in it too. So, and you guys would be involved in it just because traffic's coming into Dummerston and out of Dummerston, even though it's in Brattleboro. I'm sure it's going to be affecting all of you guys. So that's something to keep in mind. But hopefully we can plan better, be ahead of that when it comes.
all right. Anybody got anything else?
Thanks for coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Has anybody said or to them, I haven't seen them pass through West Street in Dummerston, sometimes it's so packed. In the past, in the wintertime, last winter, there were several times it was so packed that cars on both sides of the road that a fire truck couldn't even get through.
I recall some stuff about that. We were going up through there looking at who was up there, why they were there. That's always, a thing that we can be called about. Generally, we're always, Dummerston being where it's located, we're always coming through here, going to the office for some reason or other, or we're coming back from a meeting. But we're generally coming to Dummerston. I do almost daily. So if you call in and say there's something going on there, we can always come through as we're passing through and take a look at it.
I know we went to respond to one fire and we couldn't go.
We get through it.
We had to go clear around.
Yeah, that's not a good thing, and especially in the winter, we know the snowbanks build up. People need to be mindful, and that's usually where we come in. We'll come in, knock on the door, and say, "I need you to move your vehicle. It's it's a little too tight for a fire truck." And generally, that gets a person to react pretty quick.
When you're responding with a rescue truck, you've got time,
Yeah.
minutes.
But not a fire truck generally. Yeah, you got to go. So. Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And have a good evening. See you next month. Yes, definitely. I'll be back.
Does anybody else have anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, moving along, covered bridge wing wall project, update.
Well, did you see Corey, or not Corey's, I'm sorry, Brud's email with the minutes? I got it just late in the day. I was hoping it came here too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I know, what's there. So things are going along on schedule. Mike says the stonework should be complete and the paving done. He's looking at 1st of September is what he's guessing. So it's a little ahead of schedule, which would be excellent. So.
Right, and I guess the digging was pretty easy, no large boulders.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where, where I thought that we'd have surprises if there were going to be any, and there wasn't. So I feel feeling, cautiously optimistic. I've been emotionally damaged by this project. I'm sorry.
Don't say anything.
Did you make the meeting yesterday?
Yes, no, I think it's supposed to be this fall,
No.
next Tuesday.
It was, they missed last Tuesday. We didn't have one last Tuesday, but it was supposed to be yesterday at 9, right?
Yeah.
Did you go to that, Lee?
Yes.
How'd that?
That went well. The only thing I kind of took out of the meeting that the stonework is supposed to be done September 1st, and there still could be some work after that. As far as the school buses, we wanted to wait like 2 weeks, see where the project was before we tried to actually decide. I did talk to Carol from First Student. She's in charge of the buses down there. And she was fine with that. They have sort of a plan they were going to do anyways if it wasn't open, running the kids from the other side across on the Green Iron Bridge on a small bus and bringing them directly to the school. Yeah, other than that, the meeting went well. We ended up bringing them some of that screen gravel.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, over 400 yards, and we brought them some wall stone that we had collected up at
their criteria?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And we brought them wall stone today, what we had up to the barge from different projects.
They said there's a change in the stonemasons, and does anybody know who the new?
Yeah.
We probably drafted.
I do.
Yeah, it's in the.
Does anybody know what happened
Yeah.
there?
It's Steve Fisher is the person who's doing it now. He hasn't actually, I don't believe, been working on the project. A couple of his guys have been.
So what happened to the original mason?
I'm not sure. You probably want to get that from Mike. I'm not sure exactly.
So you're keeping track of the materials we're putting in there so we can put it in our in-kind?
Yes, and that's what we brought that up last meeting about the screen gravel, and it was $8 a yard if they picked it up, and $10 if we delivered it. They did end up picking up some because we couldn't deliver it fast enough when they needed it, but majority of it we delivered over there. The stone, we haven't really worked out if we think we should, do a little money or not on that.
It's not like we need in-kind to meet our obligation there. I think we're well over our contribution, but it's nice to have a complete book on it when we're done.
Yep, it's all written down.
Yeah, because it should be a cost of Renard's job. I mean,
Yes.
Isn't Mike planning on taking that off of his final
Yes.
invoice?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
and you get it delivered for $2 a yard, it's pretty reasonable.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. It was
I think we're losing
figuring
money
out
at the time of the deal.
anything else on the covered bridge?
Okay.
Renewed gravel pit update?
Our hearing is coming up next Wednesday with the DRB, and we're like this close. The neighbor association is almost ready to sign off on our application and not even come to the hearing. So we're having another meeting with them tomorrow to hopefully close that deal. So so we're looking that's looking very good for the DRB.
I can't make that meeting that evening. I hope to go to the DRB, but I can't.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll try to go.
It's here, so.
Actually, I think they're meeting at the church that night.
Yes,
They're meeting at the church.
Okay.
Because they expected more people than would fit in here.
Yeah.
And
I have
an inspection.
Starting at 5:30, and I think it's listed on the agenda and legal notice,
Yeah.
because they've got 2 or 3 sites to
Yeah,
view
the
that
first
night.
one's at, I forget the,
Yeah, I don't know what order they're in.
right, and then ours will be, what I heard was 5:45 over at the site, so.
Okay. So anything else on that? How about the highway report? Lee, you got anything for us?
Just the I-91 bridge, and I don't have a whole lot on that.
If you want to come on up so I don't have to look through the dark to see you.
I'd like to share something afterwards from Lou, who's your WRC representative in TV.
Yep.
Okay. So with using the Upper Dummerston Road, I did meet with Brattleboro. We went and drove all of Upper Dummerston Road. Came up with parts, what need, band rail, culvert replacement, ditching, and then we're hoping for a total overlay over it also afterwards. In Dummerston, it's mostly culverts that are too short, so there's no shoulders, and some band rail. They're supposed to be coming up with a map of the different areas that need work, and they're going to send it up to us. We can approve our end, and then send it down to Matt, down to Wyndham Regional. And he does know about this, Matt does. I've talked with him. On the east end of the covered bridge, where we talked about trying to make that intersection a little bit better. I met with, well anyways, Mike Renard, one of his guys over there, and we looked at all the ledge to come out, moving the road over, making the intersection better, staying within the right of way. So you're only talking moving the road maybe 6 feet over, but putting a ditch line in for the water and everything. So it'd be better. Is it going to be, the 100% fix to it, or I'm not sure, if it would.
Would that be enough to allow Camp Arden people to come out and see down the bridge?
Yes, and that's what we're hoping. Moving Camp Arden and East-West Road over, 6 feet, and trying to get it so everyone can see into the bridge. And he was going to get a price for tonight, but it didn't work out. So I'm hoping before, beginning next week. And Matt is expecting that also, down there, as far as what we'd like done. And
so what have they said?
it doesn't really, Upper Dummerston Road is definitely like the project.
And are they covering this?
Oh no, they haven't said. All we're going to do is send them what we thought, and then we aren't even sending them prices on Upper Dummerston Road. And they'll look at it and tell us what they'll do and what they won't do, or if they'll do anything. You would think they would have to do something, but
Right. The meetings that I've gone to, the engineers have said they know they have to make some improvements on detour routes. And they're supposed to be contacting us soon to come to a meeting. And of course, they want to, you know, if you're sending them the information that you've got,
Yep.
that's the way to go.
So have we abandoned trying to get a little more property so we have more room than our right of way?
I guess I didn't contact her again.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, it never hurts to ask. And I don't mind asking. It's just a matter of, it's so hard to tell, like, how much, you know, like, are we looking for, you know, 30 feet up through there for a strip?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like 6 foot is
Yeah, moving
much
it.
to work with.
Right. It's more bringing the actual T more, so the east-west road and Camp Hardin Road, the T is sort of like right there, so both vehicles can see. Right now, the T is more towards Camp Hardin Road,
Right, yeah.
so they have to, you know, making the swing. It isn't going to be that much, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be fairly expensive because it's a lot of it's really hard ledge, or looks hard.
You've used it isn't that much several times. Are you recommending that it's probably not worth the money?
No, I think it would be worth it in this project, and we did apply for a grant to try to get, you know, from the bridge this way. That ditch line, I think anytime we can get a ditch line, get the water to stay off the road, even though it might not increase visibility, but it makes the road safer. Or visibility into the bridge, it increases visibility as far as seeing, you know, everything that's happening in front of you. But I think it's worth it if they help us out or do the project. I don't think, my first gut instinct talking with Matt, that they're going to say, all right, well, we're going to buy it right away from you, or buy land to move the road even further. They're going to look at number of accidents, what have happened there. There's been a lot of annoyed people there, but there you
Snowplow.
all right, yeah, that one. I think that was in the bridge. But no, you know, we can pursue asking.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you would. If we're gonna do
Well, I
some
think
work
that's-
there, we should pursue all the options.
I think that should be somebody from the select board then, going to talk to her, maybe with Lee, but not sending Lee to try to negotiate getting land for.
Well, I wouldn't mind negotiate. I wouldn't mind finding out, you know, what her feelings are. Even though I think I know her feelings, because we had talked to her once
We
before.
had a letter from somebody.
Cindy Jerome said she was willing to go negotiate.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, want to ask her to go have a chat and see what she finds out?
I think we should at least gather the information
Mm-hmm.
if we're gonna do some work there.
Of course.
They agree.
Our animal control officer's standing right here.
Don't worry, you're all safe. Stay here, stay calm.
So,
Keep the door closed.
all right, did you want to talk to her and just see where she wants to?
Yeah, I don't mind giving her a call and, you know, and then it's just a matter of coming up with a design on the intersection so we know how much land we
Right.
really need to, and that's, I mean, we could probably have a contractor look at it and give us a fairly good idea. But it's,
Because she backed out of it the last time, right? That she didn't want to do it, or she wanted.
yeah, I think she would like some compensation for the
Well,
land.
yeah.
You know, the last time I spoke with her about something. But here again, you know, I'm not sure. I didn't take it any further than that.
All right. You have anything else?
Just one other thing that Zeke was here when I'm doing a little research on, I brought this up before, but on buying our own tractor with a mower on the back. I just called Pinnacle View, see what their ideas were, and Aaron Johnson's. They're just going to send down brochures on different types of mowers. The tractor, I just really would like to, where we cut the brush, I'm looking to keep it trimmed back instead of having it just grow back up, so then in a couple more years it'll be just filled in. And the price for a moderate tractor is, isn't that bad compared to what we spend on mowing. My idea was pretty much to mow the blacktop twice a year. We do have a York rake already for a tractor and a postal digger, which we could use. Then there's a lot of little areas, even just around the outside edges of cemeteries around this building, down to the standpipe over the west side. But we don't mow now. We used to mow them all when we had our own mower. But they've just, once we cut the brush, if you don't mow them, it's pretty much, I don't want to say it's, it doesn't take long for the brush to go right back in.
What are we paying for?
It's
road
$6,000 right now. With this, we could do the blacktop, twice, the dangerous intersections, those kind of things earlier, which would help. I did get a price on having them come down and do the blacktop twice during the year, and I think he wanted like $2,500 to $3,000 more for doing that.
Would you be getting a bucket on this tractor?
I don't think so. I think keep the price down, and we, with the two vehicles already with buckets on them, I think.
Okay.
I think we'd be fine with that. And I'm definitely interested in. Steve does a lot of mowing. Zeke does, on different mowers and everything. This year we're going for an outdoor furnace, or to change the heating system up to the shop, and that's $25,000. So I figured that this year might be a good year. The initial price on this one, and this is just on the first one, and it's really, I just asked for a quick price, and that was around $45,000.
That was a Kubota?
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah, this way you could leave it, parked someplace and, in the evenings, I would mow.
Right.
Yeah, then one good one. I'll mow
That's
the left side.
That's both John Deere and Kubota suggested that mower. It might be a different brand, two different brands. I think John Deere was a Kuhn, and that one's a. And then Zeke was telling about one. Theirs was built in Oregon, and he likes theirs down to the farm. That's the model. Just looking for a canopy, not a cab. 4-wheel drive with the mower. But this is, like I say, it's just something I just would like to pursue it.
What was the model, Lee, of the tractor? 45?
Yeah, it's a 60 horse or 62 horse. Yeah, I think it's the 60/40 maybe. I'm not sure.
So is this something that you're proposing be added to the capital
plan? And of course, out of that $6,000 for the machine that we rent each year, or we hire out, we pay the $6,000. Taking that money and we could take out. Well, I figured this is just some quick figures too. But I was thinking taking $3,000 that for like paying off the machine, so it would go into our savings or back into the to the taxpayers or into the capital plan, and then And I'm not sure on maintenance and operating costs, but I just figured 2,000 a year for the maintenance. It probably wouldn't be that in the beginning, for sure, hopefully. And $1,000 for operating costs, which I don't think it would be that either, but that's just a,
That's what
round it up.
the drivers, the actual operator.
Yeah, operating costs would be just filters
Fuel.
and, yeah, fuel, you know, tires.
That's what my
repairs.
question about this. See, maybe we can talk about this closer when we get to
Right.
the time we're setting the budget. Is, you know, what are you guys not doing when they're doing this that they're doing now?
Right.
When we hired out, you know what I mean?
But
So what's not getting done if they're mowing, I guess, is
I
the
definitely think the second time around is, as far as the brush, we're on a 10-year cycle now. So the second time around doing brush, and it's a ways off. I mean, we're only at like 4 or 5 now, but is when it's going to save, because you can do the brush a lot easier, or be able to keep it back more. It is going to take time. It is. The plan is it's not going to all be mowed at once. You know, it'll be when we have time, and a lot of it. That's all it needs. But that's just a thought, and I'm welcome to anyone's opinions on different mowers, because I've never run certain mowers. The flail, I do like the idea of a flail. When you're grading after they mow, if you use a sickle bar, or I don't know if a disc throws it away from the tractor enough or not, but if any of the grass falls into the road, you suck it up when you grade, and then you end up with a clump of grass in the road. You know, if it falls back into the road, where the flail takes and chews it up small enough, you don't get that.
And the disc mowers you can't really use because you have to run them at such an incline, they run short of oil out on the end of your,
Okay.
so the flails are a lot better. And the sickle bar doesn't chew up the brush, so I think you're right in that style mower.
Yeah. But I'm sure there's you know, there's a lot of things to those too, because you can get different style knives on them, thicknesses. And I'm definitely open for suggestions. But I'm just getting a couple prices, see where we're at, what we're going to need for a budget number if we do it. And if everyone was totally against it, then I wasn't even going to. I don't want to waste a lot of time either.
I don't think it hurts to get the information. Again, I guess you'd have to question for $6,000. If we can justify having our own tractor. Just your payroll cost over those couple weeks of mowing would be substantial. So, but it doesn't hurt to get the information so you can weigh it out.
What's the life expectancy on one of those?
I had it down as 15 years. That's what we have our regular equipment for.
The tractor would, the mower might not.
Right. It would definitely, repairs would get more later in life.
Yeah, some of those flail mowers are really rugged, though.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I had.
All right.
Thanks, Lee.
Did you want him to stick around? Did you talk
Oh, yeah, Lee, we're going to executive session. I'd like
Yep.
to have you in on the end of the meeting.
Yep.
If you don't mind.
Louis, may I say something on the
Yep.
I-91? Lou sent a memo just before your meeting started, and I apologize for being late, but he just found this information out late last night, and we were in Albany all day today. So I'm just going to read it. Good news, the WRC has just signed a contract with V-Trans to assist with bridge design. This is for the West River Bridge, particularly assisting with citizen involvement. Bad news, the work needs to be completed in the next 3 weeks by August 21st. And you may have already heard this from WRC, I don't know. WRC is working to set up a community meeting design discussion as early as next week, possibly Thursday night next week, so the date and place were not confirmed as of last night. So it's a heads up that there probably will be a meeting. There were a number of Dummerston citizens and others who were vocal in terms of design issues. And I think WRC is just going to be instrumental in pulling together people and hopefully some engineers too who are not involved with the state project but have some design expertise that might be just willing to come and be involved. WRC knows that there's a significant meeting here with next Wednesday night on the gravel pit. So they're not going to schedule a meeting next Wednesday night. But they're looking probably at Thursday or early part of the following week. So I'm sure you'll get official information. It's just a heads up.
All right, moving right along, correspondence for information. Anybody see anything here they want to discuss?
Yeah, I'd like to have you talk about the learning collaborative letter. Or pass it around or something or other.
The letter from the Learning Club.
Probably knows what there was.
Can I take one look at that first, because I asked Charlotte to do something for me, I wanna see if she did it.
Ah, she did.
Oh, good.
It's not on the.
Oh, it's not, okay.
Let's see here. It's just very brief and I want to look at it really quick.
You have a little post-it.
Not on the letter.
Okay.
It's in a different tab.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have a list here.
They're going to appeal the decision.
That's basically what it is.
Have the listers responded to that letter?
Gee.
Are there any listers in the house?
Did you see that letter? Jean?
Yes, I was here when you wrote that in.
So that appeal doesn't go to the town though, does it?
No.
It goes to the Superior, State or Superior Court.
Superior Court.
Right.
Maybe not.
Yeah, if there's some question.
Yeah, we've gotten an opinion that there may be a way for us to sell this locally with the BCA.
Has anybody talked to you from the minister's office?
I talked to Charlotte today when she was here, and we were going to talk in executive session because it's a legal matter at this point after our meeting tonight about some of the implications and ways we might go about it.
I thought it should have gone to the select board first, but
This,
no, what was sent out. You did not see a copy of that letter?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
The letter that the listers sent
Do you have a copy of that letter?
the letter that you sent to the
Yeah.
Learning Collaborative, yes, they had that in
They
their
have
packet a
that.
few weeks ago.
That was
Oh, the denial letter.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. You know, they did, didn't you come to that meeting? Because Doug
Oh,
and
yeah.
Charlotte, yeah. So,
So there isn't a copy of what was just recently sent in the last few days?
oh, you sent another one? No,
No, we haven't
I
seen
haven't
that.
You don't have a copy of that?
No,
no.
Was that letter sent in response to this letter?
Pardon?
Was the letter from the listers sent in response to that letter? That was dated
John
July
Lloyd was just
26th.
going round and round about that.
You're upset by it, I can tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am.
That letter was received apparently a week ago. Has-
No, this one that
That
we just
one there.
passed is just today's.
Oh, I thought it said
Just
July
came this afternoon.
26th.
No,
It was
it just
the
came
decision
today.
of July 26th.
Did we hand you the wrong letter?
Well,
Fred?
that one was July 26th, yeah.
I think you're discussing something that you don't want to discuss right now.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want to discuss this.
Right, now, this one, right, this is what we wanted to,
Right.
right. All right, anybody else have any questions on it? More? No, Gene?
Rather not discuss it.
Okay. All right, correspondence for discussion and or action. The letter of agreement to computer appraisal services. Do I have a motion to,
I'll move that we sign the letter of agreement for computer appraisal services.
I'll second that.
since we already set them.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on. Ancient roads update, Bill and Steve. Guys got anything?
Yeah, we're ready to start in earnest. We've done some background work. We've put together a small committee, and we're happy to have anybody who would be interested in working on that. It's a historical project, clearly, and it'll involve going through town records and verifying what has been on maps over the years. And we have from a local map specialist all but all of the maps that have been made of Dummerston. So, and there's also, what's that?
I was going to say, is that the fellow from Chesterfield?
Dave Allen. Yeah, I met with him the other day. But we'll be meeting here before the end of the month. Steve's going to call a meeting date, probably on Monday, late afternoon, early evening. And when we're finished, if everything goes correctly, we should end up with something like this, which I can pass around. This is not Dummerston, but you can see every map that exists in Dummerston, along with a corresponding year of when that map, when that road was added. Yeah. And to the board, especially Dave has offered us, you remember we spoke about this, Tom, a couple of weeks ago, but he has offered to take those maps here and put them all to the same scale and give us a set like this from which we can work, and for an add-on nominal fee would give us a clean one, set of these that he said are very popular in public places, in a library or historical society. People are constantly wanting to look at old maps and what have you. So,
And that overall cost, Bill, was what now?
$290.
And what was the $600 again? I'm confused on that one.
Well, I wasn't going to mention that.
Oh. No wonder I'm confused. That's right.
Well, we don't even have to pay for that if we don't want.
What if we don't want
it? Certainly would make our sledding a little more difficult. That would make it easier. I think Dave would provide the entire service for us for the $600 and do this job.
Do the research?
Yes.
Well, that's the part of it where that perked up with that $600. If that map that he shows an example of,
the one that's being passed around,
shows the dates, the roads. That's what we're looking for. I mean, that's the information we want. So if he'll do that research for $600 and put a map out, I don't.
That's cheap.
Because we've been talking about hiring a consultant to go root around in the safe to get that.
well, I think he's done a lot of it already. That's his labor of love, really. And when he gets an opportunity to help and or make a few bucks, really a few, then he offers to do that.
It would be nice to have them all in one place. I say that the only map on here that we don't have, or I haven't seen, is this 1893 one, which actually Carol Bissett had an 8x10 Xerox of in our early meetings, and somehow between handing it over between Lewis and I, this disappeared. And I haven't told Carol yet.
Carol's on this committee.
Yeah. And it'd be nice. There were things on that map that were, that's 1893. The Beers map, which we're most familiar with, is 1856, excuse me, or 1869. And things change between there. So that's a critical period, I think, that we want to zero in on.
And Dave was smart enough not to make this all inclusive. There are just a couple of maps pertaining to Dummerston that are not on this sheet.
So after our meeting, our original meeting with the committee, it may be our suggestion back to the board that we hire this guy to do the entire project. But I think we need to have our original meeting and see how much information everybody has.
Well, essentially the job at hand is to find legal documents for the roads that are here in Dummerston. And that means going through town meeting. Anytime that a town, no matter when, were to add a road or move a road, take a road away, it would have to have been done.
Well, it's done through select board minutes.
And select board minutes, that's what I was
And
gonna
it's
say.
sometimes hard to read.
Yeah.
Try-
Now, Norris Evans combined two maps, I think, the Gazetteer and the Beers map, and superimposed that over our existing roads. This was back a number of years ago, and I think, Tom, you were on the board at that time.
Well, yeah, it was when this first came up.
Right.
That was done to scale, Paul? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, and he didn't show, at that point, no, he didn't, I don't think he had the 1893 map.
Mhm.
And he didn't show what might have transpired in 1893, but what he did show was that there wasn't a heck of a lot of, there were a couple of roads that were there, but that superimposed on the existing map, there wasn't a whole lot of difference.
The big difference today, according to Mr. Allen, is with GPS coordinates. Roads can be off by, because they were sketched in by eyeball centuries ago, up to, in some cases, a quarter of a mile.
Oh, that much.
And in other places, not so bad.
So what we became curious about before the whole thing just kind of, the legislature gave us, some leeway, and then we all just quit thinking about it. It was on this 1893 map. We always had sort of made this assumption that back in the day, whenever at the beginning of time, all these roads existed, and that one by one they kind of disappeared maybe. But what appears to be the case is that roads may have come and went in the meantime, that maybe they were built after the Beers map, but disappeared before, were discontinued before the 93 map, or vice versa. And so it could be that roads, were created and either taken over and thrown up or not, between maps that we have.
I don't know if this is in the town budget at all, but we would be willing to bring it to the Historical Society to chip in a couple $100 toward paying this person. It seems like somebody that's competent and knows how to do it would be the right place to do, and he would do it in a timely fashion. So I think it would be $600 well spent. And if you would like, we would certainly check with the Historical Society and see if a contribution would help in terms of budgeting.
Or I write the checks. So.
You've got to go through formal process.
Let me try to,
Oh, I do?
I don't know if I do this, but I could try to invite him to that first meeting.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, give recommendation or say, he seemed to be, for whatever reason, maybe for confirmation of his own work, enthusiastic that the town should go through this process.
He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, rather than hire out somebody to do it.
I've never known this board to refuse a gift.
No, I wasn't refusing.
That wasn't meant that way.
I think we just want to gather more information before we get there. We really need to confirm with him what he's willing to do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, did I understand that he was going to do the vault research also?
Or wherever he
The
gets it,
research.
I don't know.
So that, because you have to have, from the state, they want to have documentation, don't they?
Yes, they needed it at every turn.
Other than a map.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is,
Yeah.
I don't understand why, because they're putting it on their.
it's
their
clearly
highway map.
stipulated here in the guidelines. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
When the
Good
lo-
news, we all, there was some grant money, that's good news. Bad news is it runs out this year, and obviously we
There
don't
wasn't a
know.
lot of it.
And there was, good news again, bad news is that there was very little of it anyway, and only a few towns got any, and what they got was paltry, so, yeah.
Yeah, but we're, it's really $600 we're looking at, and I think between a couple interested parties, we can make that happen. It's cheaper than I ever thought we'd pay to have somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get back in touch with them, see that.
Great. Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yep, that's good. Okay. New business. Clarification of the facility use agreement. This does everybody know what that's about? There's a couple that wanted to have a wedding. Yeah, all they want to do is have the wedding ceremony itself, you know, the I-do's on the common, and then they're going to have their reception at the Grange. But with our current facility use agreement, they have to go through all kinds of stuff for a 5-minute ceremony. And it's also the dancers that come out here.
Morris.
Yes, they would have to do the same thing under the agreement that we have right
Do you
now.
have a copy of that? 'Cause
Yes, and
It's right on top of this.
We have two again, right, on one page. And then the more elaborate
The
one.
one for alcohol, the one without alcohol, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. I know that we adopted the one page predominantly for the West Dummerston Community Center.
that's what that one was for. It was for the community
Was
center.
Right.
specifically for the
Right,
community
right.
center. And this one here is everything else.
Okay. And one with alcohol, one without.
Well, there's a place to check off whether or not
Right.
you're going to have
Do you,
alcohol.
do you
I remember
consider
putting it
the
in
common a facility?
It's
As
on,
opposed,
it's on the list.
as opposed, I mean, it seems like that's the land that belongs to the town of Dummerston, and belongs to everybody in Dummerston.
That's why I'm bringing this back to the board, because I have the same
Mhm.
concerns.
Yeah.
So,
And we've always controlled vendors
Yes.
there. But it's a fair point. I mean, they're not buying or selling anything, they're gonna use what's public land for
Yeah.
the purpose public land is supposed to be used
But
for. you know,
doesn't your
it's-
vendor thing say Dummerston's property rather than facilities? And I think there's a difference in that.
Yeah, that includes the park and ride lot.
Yes,
so-
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, one obvious problem would be that somebody else was using it already that day for a
Yeah.
volleyball tournament, for example, so you'd at least have to go through something in order to make sure that
so, yeah, so I would, I guess I would make a motion that we just have a simple thing that says, we're going to use this on this date, what hours, this hour from that hour, you'll pick up any trash and you'll hold the town harmless in case, you know, I'm looking out the window through the ride and, you know, run off the road and into somebody's car.
Who's going to be in charge of that calendar though? Because it's just like somebody said, what if another person's going to have something else they want to have there?
Right, I guess I think, who's the
Charge them $20
I
for a
got-
permit.
I think, well, we could decide that in executive session.
You have a town calendar
I think-
here.
Are there a lot of hoops already on that use policy? Hoops that people have to jump through?
Well, that's what I was looking at. I was
thought
trying
it
to think,
was
what are
pretty-
they tripping
I
over
thought
here?
it
It
was pretty
basically
simple.
says, behave yourself and clean
Yeah.
up later.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty basic.
You
Well,
know,
there's a cancellation
it lists the
policy,
facilities,
and
one of which
Oh.
is the common.
oh, because
That's the
there's
very
no-
first
yeah.
one listed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
Common,
it'd be,
Dummerston Community Center,
who issues?
Park and
this?
Ride,
Dan do, or we do?
town office lawn and parking lot.
No, we can just cross through the stuff that doesn't apply. We sign stuff like that all the time. NA, you know, the cancellation policy, all that.
Big
Just-
time.
It does seem a smart thing to have some idea what's going on out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
So
we-
I'm fine with crossing things out. I'll
Yeah.
do a friendly amendment that we cross whatever doesn't seem pertinent to this 5-minute wedding.
I mean, we've talked about this on and off for probably a year, and it's just like special event. We're never gonna think of every single thing that might happen. And if we can figure out how to just amend, you know, this seems routine enough for most things, like at the community center where it usually comes up. And for the across the street, just cross out the rent and security deposit and the cancellation requirement, and the rest of it just seems to apply, you know, just tell them to clean
What, are you
up.
going to let them cancel their wedding? They got to call and let us know they're canceling it, I guess.
So I would second whatever that motion is. If it gets us done, no.
Cross anything that we don't think applies on that.
To this particular situation,
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
if anything.
Discussion? All those in favor?
So is this in front of us now, or do they have to come back? And What's
No,
the
the wedding's next year.
Oh.
Next
oh.
year, crying out loud.
Hey, you know, some people get ahead of these things.
Oh, my goodness, a lot can happen.
Oh, it's long.
That's why I'm telling them they
Yeah.
can't cancel now. We went through all this, no cancellation.
After all this work.
Well, it's been
Whoever
fine.
writes the articles for the Views or puts it on the website, this is just a good paragraph of clarification or education for the community. You know, check with town office that there is a facility agreement or something, and just let people know.
I can put that in my
I
notes.
wonder if it would make
Sense
sense
to-
to put this document
That's what I
in
was
there
just
so
gonna
people
say.
could take it,
Oh,
print
yeah.
it, fill it out and bring it here.
Or keep it online.
Or just keep it in line with the other forms.
Yeah, yeah. But to tell the people in the Views, you know, that we do have a policy like this, and
Or it should be in review because it's out.
Okay. Sign the certificate of change to the 2012 grand list. Everybody see that? It's just getting changed from residential to non-residential piece of property.
I move we sign that if we have to move it, or we just sign it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any other new business?
I just have copies of the proposed special event. Tom and I worked on it. There's a couple or three people from the planning commission that worked on it. We've got a lot of discussion last night. At this point, they're going to revisit the ag tourism exemption. They're going to check with the Farmland Protection Committee, and at this, you know, it was going to be presented with the ag tourism exemption in there, but Matt several questions last night, so they're going to look into it specifically with the Farmland Protection. So we tabled it for the next meeting. But you should know what it is now.
Jody, did you have something?
yeah, I'm sorry, I can't get used to the fact that you're meeting whenever you start the meeting, and I'm sitting there merely doing my book work, and Paul says, oh my God, we gotta be at the select board meeting. I have a request, I think, for the the cameraman here and the mic. I did spend some time on vacation, going over some of the select board meetings that I missed. Zeke, you can't hear a lot. Bill, you can't hear a lot. There's no problem with Tom, and there's no problem with Steve, and once in a while, and Lewis mumbles. So I would hope that...
Well, that's his nickname, Mumbles.
That's why he's chair.
I don't know whether you can do something with the mic, because Zeke, particularly Zeke, he's very quiet, very soft-spoken fellow over there.
I think, Jody, we've been talking about this. I think we're going to move the table the other direction next meeting, and possibly the mic could be centered better than the table. Rich and I have been talking about this for 3 or 4 meetings. It also makes us present ourselves straight to the camera.
Yeah, it does.
It'd be easier to hear us if the mic is maybe located in the center. So
Maybe they could do those closed captions.
Somebody has to
I'll
write
I'll give a transcript
You'll give a
of
transcript?
what I've said. And
actually, by turning the table, it keeps me from having my back at
Yeah.
people.
You want to present your better side? Is that what
I don't
you're
have a
saying?
good side.
But I mean, I just brought that up because I did have
Rich
to
and I have
go
been
through
talking
several
about
of
that.
them, so.
It almost got done this evening, but we weren't quite quick enough.
Anything else?
It's nice to have them and be able to go back through them, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Do I have a motion for executive
Yeah,
session?
I move we enter executive session and discuss the legal matter.
I'll second that.
Discussion on it? All those in favor?
I got a question when you say that. According to open meeting laws, it doesn't say anything about legal matter? It specifies?
It does.
Says litigation.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's
I believe it does.
Our legal proceeding, maybe the terminology is wrong. but-
Specify, the way I read it, read it, right here. When I was in meetings, because I was just, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I've been asked why this, why that.
Well, I know there's three, we can, real estate matters, or other, two-party sales, contractual matters, and, personnel matters.
Right.
And then there's something about, pending litigation, that's it. Well, yeah.
Or state relative to state.
Yeah, pending
Or
litigation.
something that's gonna damage the town.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, so this is pending litigation, and so adjust the minutes of my motion.
The only thing that can be binding is road state.
Right, right, we understand. We are to take no action.
I'm just reading what the law said.
Right,
Right, no decisions to be made.
yeah, no decisions can be made in executive session, right, except for real estate.
All right, so we had a motion, we had a second,
And I've amended my motion to say a pending litigation.
Zeke, you all right with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So-
Yes, yes, I am.